We, Greater Bergen Community Action, came into being as the Bergen County Community Action Program on March 20th, 1967. Generally known as CAP to the public, this year we celebrate 50 years of efforts to change the lives of the poor in North Jersey. We were born out of President Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, and our job was to be the cutting edge in the war on poverty. In August of 1964, the enabling legislation, the Economic Opportunity Act, was signed by President Johnson. Our early model involved the operation of neighborhood community centers in Hackensack, Englewood, and Garfield. These centers represented a coordinated response which included job programs, legal services, food and nutrition, older adult programs, and a variety of social services. Over time, these centers hosted the early Meals on Wheels and senior nutrition programs, community transportation, youth enrichment, and adult education. In the 1970s, CAP started the first Head Start programs in Bergen County at a time when pre-K programs hardly existed, especially for low-income families. This early investment in our children has grown to where we now educate more than 2,000 youngsters every day. CAP had a huge early impact on creating the training and job development programs that began with CETA, the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, and led to the creation of the Private Industry Council, which ultimately morphed into the Workforce Development Board. As a result, thousands have been moved out of poverty by gaining worthwhile employment. The 1980s saw the emergence of hunger as a real and pressing issue. A grant from CAP helped seed the creation of the Center for Food Action, as well as a variety of community food and nutrition projects, food co-ops, and community gardens throughout Bergen. This period also saw the startup of the Home Weatherization Program, where we send skilled crews into the homes of low-income families to upgrade them, resulting in a dramatic lowering of utility bills. CAP recently weatherized its 6,000th home. In 1984, we erected Bergen County's first homeless shelter on Kansas Street in Hackensack. This effort expanded to include homeless drop-in centers, feeding programs, and mental health and substance abuse assistance. Eventually, a homeless shelter for families at 40 Passaic Street in Hackensack was established. Given the chronic lack of shelter beds, in the mid-1980s, CAP reached out to the religious congregations of the county and helped create the Interreligious Fellowship for the Homeless, now known as Family Promise of Bergen County, which brought dozens of churches and hundreds of volunteers to the cause. Clearly, the continuing lack of affordable housing was a big part of the problem. Thus, in 1989, CAP created Community Housing in Partnership, Bergen's first HUD-certified community housing development organization, which continues to create new housing opportunities, the latest being new homes for first-time homebuyers in Cliffside Park. This period also saw the creation by CAP of a number of after-school programs for youth in Bergen's school districts, later assumed by those school districts themselves. This was a precursor to a trend that would ultimately take hold in many school systems throughout the county. In the 1990s, the state of New Jersey asked us to operate the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, and since then we have kept the heat on in the winter for 10,000 households every year. Households which are often forced to make the devastating choice between heat and food. Throughout the later decades of the 20th century, CAP continued to expand its footprint in what we call our New Americans program. As the demographics of the county continue to change, CAP has provided immigration and naturalization assistance, citizenship classes, English as a second language, and more, as we continue to be the bridge between immigration and integration for thousands in North Jersey who speak over 70 different dialects and languages. The county has always suffered from inadequate residential options for people struggling with substance abuse. And in response, CAP created the Ladder program, which is now 3 separate residences with services for men in recovery. This led to the development of additional residential programs for homeless women in recovery and other special needs populations, including our Phases program, a residence for youth who are aged out of foster care but have nowhere else to go. In the early 2000s, CAP converted a warehouse park in Garfield into the Bergen County Help Center, which included a federally qualified health center, an early childhood school, and a green technology training center. This center continues to serve families from throughout southern Bergen. In 2008, the Great Recession hit, and CAP was the largest nonprofit participant in Bergen in the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, creating jobs, weatherizing hundreds more homes, and providing a range of assistance to workers dislocated by the recession. This experience reinforced the need for responsive and responsible banking options for low-income persons. And so in 2009, the U.S. government chartered the first Bergen Federal Credit Union, the first new federal credit union chartered in New Jersey in more than 20 years. Also in 2009, CAP built a new health clinic in Hackensack, which helped launch the birth of the Bergen Volunteer Medical Initiative, whose unpaid medical professionals provide critical health care services for 1,000 uninsured patients every year. In 2011, CAP initiated a social return on investment venture, and with $10 million from Goldman Sachs, created CAP Solar, which installed 2 megawatts of solar panels on 36 nonprofit facilities in New Jersey, cutting their power bills dramatically. This was the beginning of an evolution by CAP into joint ventures with the private sector, designed to drive private capital into the low-income community. In 2013, Hurricane Sandy hit us hard. In response, CAP created Safer Home Improvement, which repaired 80 homes which were flooded in South Bergen, while also raising and distributing millions of dollars in emergency assistance to families in crisis. In that same year, the federal government awarded CAP the contract to operate Head Start in the city of Paterson, followed the next year with Jersey City, making us the largest private provider of early childhood education in New Jersey. As we mark our 50th anniversary, GBCA is pioneering community revitalization activities in 2 cities where we have had a footprint for all of our half-century. In Hackensack, we are breaking ground on a 106-unit apartment building, which will help drive economic development in the downtown. And in Garfield, we have been named master developer for a 19-block business strip where we are organizing a transit-oriented development designed to transition how people live and work in that part of the city, Bergen County's lowest socioeconomic census tract. Quite simply, as long as our society fails to be an opportunity society for all of our citizens, GBCA will continue to step up to meet the need wherever we may find it. Without all of our supporters, we could not do what we do. Thus, we are deeply grateful to each and every one of you for your commitment to our mutual undertaking.